Hello and welcome to our Becoming Visible Wikipedia Edit-a-thon. I'm Nikki Kang-Ferriolo, Head of Digital Strategies at the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum. A visual description of me is that I have long dark brown hair with bangs and glasses, and I am wearing a coral blazer on a light blue Zoom background. The theme of this edit-a-thon is Becoming Visible, bringing American women's history into focus, inspired by our museum's first web exhibition, which you can experience at becomingvisible.si.edu. I'm going to quickly run you through the agenda for today. Following this welcome introduction, you'll have an overview of the Becoming Visible exhibition by our digital curator, Dr. Elizabeth Harmon. Then Ariel Citron from Wikimedia DC will provide an introduction to getting started with Wikipedia editing. Then at 12 p.m. ET, we'll transition to the edit-a-thon itself, and we can all roll up our sleeves and get to work editing. So you are welcome to attend one or both parts of this, and you can enter or leave the room at any time. So before we get started, a bit of background on the museum itself. We are the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum. Our museum expands the story of America through the often untold accounts and accomplishments of women individually and collectively, to better understand our past and inspire our future. We are one of two new Smithsonian museums, along with the National Museum of the American Latino, and we were signed into legislation in 2020, and this legislation stipulates that we'll have a physical museum on or near the National Mall in Washington, DC. We have about a 10-year runway before our physical museum is built, which is an opportunity for us to meet people where they are, both in person and online. So why does the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum care about Wikipedia? And why should you? So I'd like to start by having you all ask yourselves, when you have a question about history, how do you find the answer? For most of us, the first step is going to be looking it up online. So you're going to pose this historical question to Google, Bing, Alexa, Siri, or maybe even historically inclined TikTokers. Where do you think these content creators and search engines are getting their answers from? Most of the time, those answers are going to be pulled from Wikipedia or Wikidata. Meanwhile, Wikipedia and Wikidata are some of the most fundamental data sets used to train generative AI tools like ChatGPT. So what does it mean that less than 20% of biographical articles on Wikipedia English are about women? How does this affect our assumptions about women and their role in shaping history? At the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum and our predecessor organization, the American Women's History Initiative, we have been working for years to address this issue. Over the past 5 years, we have added well over 2 million words about women. The images we've added alone appear in 22 different language articles and have been viewed well over 50 million times. We believe that women's history is American history, and helping to close the gender gap in Wikipedia is critical as we push for a more representative history, a more collective future. So thank you for showing up today. This work truly does matter. So before I turn it over to our presenters, I wanted to do a little housekeeping and share what you can expect as participants. For those of you who are new to Zoom, one of my colleagues will drop a link in the chat with additional information on getting started. We'll be supported by our colleagues today, several of us behind the scenes. These include Diana Turnbow, Chanel Pickens, and Rachel Seidman, who will be supporting us. If you have questions about the edit-a-thon, we ask that you use the Q&A box. You can find this by clicking the Q&A button in your taskbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For this reason, for this session, microphones and the chat feature are only going to be enabled for hosts. So please use the Q&A box for your wiki-related questions, or if you have technical questions about Zoom. Automatic captions are also available through Zoom, and you can activate or deactivate them by clicking Show Captions or Hide Captions in your taskbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll also drop more detailed instructions for viewing captions in the chat. This session will be recorded and may be posted to YouTube or other channels at a later date. And finally, and most importantly, we ask that we all work to create a safe and respectful environment for everyone here. So it is now my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Elizabeth Harmon, the digital curator behind the museum's first digital exhibition, Becoming Visible.
Thank you, Nikki. And thank you again to all of you in the audience for joining us today. We're so grateful you're here to help share women's history online. Today, we're focusing on people and topics related to the museum's first digital exhibition, Becoming Visible, Bringing American Women's History into Focus. We'll share a link to the exhibition again now in case you missed it. The exhibition is a 10-minute digital experience that takes you on a journey through the lives of 5 American women whose stories were at one point either excluded, forgotten, almost lost, obscured, or erased in American history. These remarkable stories are brought to life through objects from our collections, archival records, recorded interviews, and original illustrations and animations. Curators from different Smithsonian museums also narrate each of the 5 stories, so you get to hear multiple voices and perspectives. And that's alongside an introduction narrated by actress, designer, and producer Rosario Dawson, who serves on the museum's advisory council. All right, let me tell you a little bit more about how we created and curated the exhibition. So I want to start with what inspired it, and then we'll walk through the work list today. So this exhibition was inspired by a central problem in women's history that really spans centuries. Women's stories have really been in a constant state of becoming visible and never quite coming into focus in American history. Scholars and activists have even mused, it's as though women's history has been written in disappearing ink. In other words, even though historians have long documented the lives and work of women, their evidence and arguments vanish from most popular and influential narratives of US history. So from our monuments to our museums, women's stories are sometimes missing or not centered in our national history. And as we know, that's also true, or maybe especially true for women's history presented online, even on Wikipedia. So this exhibition confronts that paradox of women's significance and absence in American history. We know women have been making history for centuries, but their stories are missing from popular narratives of US history. In Becoming Visible, we invite you into the museum's work to understand how women's stories are erased, so we can all work together to increase their visibility and impact today. While curating the exhibition, we actually worked with women's history experts across the Smithsonian to identify women's stories that have seemingly been written in disappearing ink. We then curated stories that illustrate a variety of time periods, backgrounds, and fields to show that this is a systemic issue. This isn't exceptional. In fact, erasure happens in distinct ways for different women, depending on their intersectional identities and lived experiences, and based on how their stories have been reported and remembered. Let me tell you a little bit more about who we feature in the exhibition. So first, Elizabeth Keckley, an author and entrepreneur who was born into slavery and became a lauded seamstress and dressmaker to Mary Todd Lincoln in the White House. And although Keckley wrote an autobiography, her own story doesn't always rise to the top in accounts of her life. So we explore that in the exhibition. Next, Margaret Knight, a 19th century inventor who mechanized the production of flat bottom paper bags that you see in the grocery store today. She held over 20 patents by the end of her life, and newspapers covered her life story. She was celebrated, but she's not well known today, and we should know more about her. And Isabel Morgan, a scientist who was instrumental in the development of the polio vaccine. And although Morgan's discoveries in the lab contributed to the creation of the polio vaccine, her work isn't recognized nearly enough. And finally, and next, Hisako Hibi, a Japanese-American artist who lost much of her life's work after spending over 3 years in government detention during World War II. But Hibi kept learning and painting throughout her life. And it's thanks to her family and the Japanese-American community on the West Coast that we have a record of her work today. And finally, Hazel Fellows, a seamstress who helped create the Apollo spacesuits. Fellows and a whole team of seamstresses at ILC Dover fabricated some of the most famous garments ever created, but they often go unnamed in the historical record. I hope you'll visit the exhibition's webpage to learn more about each of these figures and to visit the exhibition too. We'll share a link to that page here. I want to say, we know we're presenting a problem in American women's history with this exhibition, but we're really hopeful because here's the thing, museums and archives have been collecting women's history for centuries. We want to highlight that because we know that their stories then are out there to find and share. And finding those stories and sharing them is work everyone can do. So let's get started today. Let me tell you more about the work list. So we'll drop a link to the event page with that work list, just in case you don't already have it open. Okay, so in the first section, we focused on the seamstresses like Hazel Fellows who created spacesuits for Project Apollo. Today, we've included a draft entry for the group of women who worked alongside Fellows at ILC Dover. We've also included individual pages to be improved or created for seamstresses who worked on the spacesuits. Next, inspired by Elizabeth Keckley's story, we are including the page for the Black Fashion Museum and individual fashion designers in its collections. As explored in the exhibition, we don't always remember the people who designed and made beautiful dresses. Sometimes we just see the women wearing them. The Black Fashion Museum was created by Lois Alexander Lane in the 1970s to highlight the work of African-American fashion designers throughout American history. And now the National Museum of African American History and Culture holds those collections. Next, we have the Mother's March on Polio. So in the 1950s, women organized a door-to-door fundraising campaign to fund the creation of a polio vaccine. That's mass philanthropy. That effort needs a page, as well as other women like Isabel Morgan, who helped create the vaccine in other ways. All right, and finally, we feature a number of Japanese American artists who were also impacted by Executive Order 9066 during World War II, just like Hisako Hibi, resulting in their incarceration. All right, to close, I just want to sign off with a couple suggestions about how to take a feminist approach to editing Wikipedia articles today for all these folks. The first thing is really just to remember to center the women in their own articles. So often we see women's history presented where women are featured as daughters or wives or sisters. And this is important information. And of course, it makes sense to include it somewhere. But when you're thinking about writing that first paragraph about a woman's contributions, thinking about her life in its full spectrum and centering her is really important. And next, adding links whenever possible so we can make connections between people, objects, and institutions is so important. This combats a kind of great man narrative of history that often shows up where just one person gets credit for a major change in history, when really there's a whole group of people that includes a far more diverse group of figures that we can highlight and share. Okay, so thank you so much for taking time to learn about our digital exhibition. It's such a pleasure to share it with you. And now I'd like to pass things over to Ariel Citron. Ariel is the Institutional Partnerships Manager for Wikimedia DC. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. As Liz said, my name is Ariel Citron. I'm with Wikimedia DC. Wikimedia DC is a regional outreach organization for Wikipedia and other projects of the Wikimedia Foundation. We promote participation in Wikimedia projects in DC, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, and throughout the United States, though we have expanded, especially in the era of increased remote work opportunities, to doing events like this one and other initiatives globally as well. Today, you can expect to learn how to edit existing Wikipedia articles and create new ones. You can also aim, as Liz said, I'm sorry, I was just reading something in the chat. We're going to aim to improve and create articles on our work list. That is the ultimate goal today. We are so happy to be working with the museum on this, especially to highlight this digital exhibition and create those links between Wikipedia and the work that's being done there. I have peppered in some interesting images. All of these images are available in Wikimedia Commons, which is Wikimedia's online photo repository. I did upload them personally yesterday and the week before. So if any of these are of interest to you and you would like to consider putting them into the Wikipedia articles you work on today, they are available for that purpose. So we do have some housekeeping, and there have been some links dropped in the chat. Hopefully they are visible to you. I believe that they are. So as Liz mentioned, we have our Wiki event page, which is a very helpful page. I highly recommend when you open it, please bookmark it. Use that little star at the top of your browser to bookmark it. I always recommend as well to maybe open it in 2 to 3, who knows, maybe even 4 tabs as well. It is very easy to close this page by accident. And not just that, when you actually start creating articles, you will be clicking on some of these hyperlinked secondary sources, which will, in some cases, depending on your settings, open up another browser, but also potentially open up that source in the existing browser. So having your event page open in a couple different tabs will make it easier for you to go back and forth. The other tool that we have is our Google Sheet. Now, this is our very somewhat low-tech way of reserving articles to edit. Now, for as advanced as some parts of Wikipedia are, it is possible for 2 people to edit Wikipedia at the same time, specifically the same article. So 2 people could create the article at the same time, 2 people can work on an existing article at the same time. So what we do at events, because we are hyper-focused on a certain list, is that we ask that you just go into the Google Sheet that is linked on the event page when it is time to edit. And you can reserve your article by placing your name or username. Please do not edit an article or create an article that someone has reserved. Also, when you are done working on an article, please remove your name so that we can open it up for other people to edit. As was already shared, this is what the event page looks like. And we will ask that at this point, or before you edit, we have all of our attendees today log into Wikipedia. Now, this may require you creating an account if you don't already have one. You can log in on the event page. When you open it up on the top right, you'll see log in and create account as hyperlinks. You can also do this from any page within Wikipedia. It does not have to be from the event page. But please note, when creating your username will be public. So it does not have to be your real name. It should be a username that's unique to you. It should not be a username that is shared within, let's say, your organization, institution, museum, whatever it may be. Even if you think that you are going to do work as part of your professional duties, for example, you're an archivist or a librarian or a curator, and you are going to edit things that fall within your mission or activities, you want to make sure that that username is not the name of your organization, for example, that it is unique to you. That way we are staying as neutral as possible, and we are not using accounts in a way that is not approved per Wikimedia policy. So please go ahead and create those usernames if you don't have them. Now, you can do this towards the end of the event, but you can also take some time to do it now. It takes about 1 minute to do. And I also highly recommend using your email address when setting it up. It is the only way to recover your password if lost. So once you've created your Wikipedia username, you can go ahead and log in. Now, on that event page, there is a blue check-in button with instructions on how to use it. This is a page that just lets us know that you are here today. Obviously, we see you in the list of participants, but we always like during edit-a-thons to check in those who are here and who plan to edit. That way, at the end of the event and beyond, we'll be able to see the work that was done here, and it's all part of the metrics for the thon part of the edit-a-thon. So please, when you have a moment, go to that event page. Make sure you are logged in first to Wikipedia before doing this. Go ahead and click that blue check-in button. Once you do that, you'll come to a page that looks like this. Please don't be intimidated by the section where you can add code. You don't have to add code. All you have to do is scroll right down to the bottom of the page and click Publish Changes. So again, go to the event page, click the blue check-in button, and then scroll down on the following page and select Publish Changes. What this will do, again, is lets us know that you are here at the edit-a-thon. Now we do have our list of articles that are on that event page. So when it is time to edit, you will open this event page. You will go to the Google Sheet and reserve the article you want to edit. You will then return to this page and click on the links that are provided. Now, red links are articles that don't yet exist in Wikipedia, and blue links in the article work list format are articles that already exist. So if I were to click on this red draft link, it would open up a blank page, and that's where I would start to build my article. Now, you will notice that these red links all start with draft. One of the things we do as trainers in this work is I have new editors who are not necessarily too experienced or maybe completely new to this process, start articles as drafts so that we can work on them, you can publish them, we can select edit and keep building and building and building until they are ready to go into what we call main space Wikipedia. If new editors were to attempt to create new articles, without them being in what we call draft space, and once you hit publish, they go live immediately in Wikipedia, and other editors who are more experienced or more critical will come and delete them if they are not ready. So starting articles as drafts gives us some breathing room. So if you intend to start a new article today, you're going to do so in draft form. We will help you work on it throughout the editing portion on the latter part of today's event, and we will hopefully get it to a place where we can move it into main space Wikipedia. And this is what the Google Sheet will look like when it is time to reserve your articles. I want to highlight our organization, Wikimedia DC, has a safe space policy. You can access this on our website. If you feel that you are experience any harassment at this event or any event having to do with Wikimedia DC, please report us to please report that to us immediately, and it will be taken care of. There is a very strict safe space policy in Wikipedia as well. So if you are ever either at this event or working within Wikipedia or Wikimedia projects on your own time, and you experience harassment, please report that behavior immediately. It will not be tolerated. So we're going to take a step back after all of our housekeeping and talk about Wikipedia and what exactly it is, how it's structured, before we jump into how to make changes and add new content. So Wikipedia is something that many of us use on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, but we don't often stop to think about what is this useful tool. Wikipedia is a multilingual web-based free encyclopedia based on the model of openly editable content. That's a fancy way of saying it's an encyclopedia that anyone can edit at any time. It's the largest and most popular work of its kind on the internet. It is supported financially and hosted by the Wikimedia Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization in itself. So if you've ever gone onto Wikipedia and it asks you for money for a fundraising campaign, that money goes to Wikimedia Foundation, which is based in San Francisco, though its employees are scattered throughout the world. And it is an incorporated 501c3 nonprofit organization. And that money is used to pay hosting fees for Wikipedia. It is not used to pay for people to create content. It is not used to influence content. A lot of the money also that is raised by the foundation goes to grants for organizations like mine that help people learn how to engage with Wikipedia. You'll hear me say Wikimedia and Wikipedia quite a bit. This is a nice little graphic to explain it. So consider Wikimedia the umbrella. That's all the suite of projects. And the projects that exist under that umbrella are listed here. The largest of which are Wikipedia, Wikidata, and Wikimedia Commons. So Wikipedia is mostly what we'll be working in today. Wikimedia Commons is the online photo repository, and Wikidata is an online database. Wikipedia was founded with the idea that there should not be a paywall between individuals and the sum of all human knowledge, and by crowdsourcing that work and making sure that everyone has the ability to add to that sum of all human knowledge, we are making it even more accessible. Editing and using Wikipedia is free. It's created and edited by volunteers. There is no official approval to become a Wikimedia volunteer. So when you create a Wikipedia username, you are considered a volunteer. It is overseen again by the foundation. All edits are recorded forever. And there are over 7 million articles in English language Wikipedia alone. And there are Wikipedias in 280 languages. Our training will be conducted today in English, and our platform we will be working in within Wikipedia is the English language Wikipedia. We are approaching 8 million articles, so who knows, by the end of the year we will get to 8 million in Wikimedia. I'm sorry, in English language Wikipedia. So within Wikipedia, all content is freely licensed without restrictions. I say this because when you are adding content or text to a Wikipedia article, know that once you hit publish, you are releasing it into the public domain. Anybody can come along and use it. They don't have to technically give you credit, even though we like them to do so. They could say that it came from Wikipedia and ideally say what user created it, but there is no legal obligation to do so. So please note that any written word that you craft or put into a Wikipedia article, once you hit publish, you're releasing it, the rights to that content. Same goes with images that go into Wikimedia Commons for the most part. You can upload images that you own, that, for example, a picture that you took or something like that, you can upload it to Wikimedia Commons and release the rights under a Creative Commons license, or you can release it completely with a CC0, which means it's the most liberal license. You are giving up the rights to that image. If you do choose to upload images that you did not take, make sure that the copyrights are expired, or the source where you found the image. So for example, a website online says very clearly that this is already in the public domain. So what is a wiki? A wiki is a website that anyone can edit. The edits are meant to be quick. All versions are remembered, and wikis hyperlink from one to the other. So if we've ever gone on those Wikipedia rabbit holes where you start on one place and you end somewhere completely differently only 2 minutes later, that's why we have our hyperlinks. It helps create the web of Wikipedia. Everything is connected. It helps improve the learning experience. So please make sure that once you learn how to add hyperlinks, that you do aim to do that when crafting your articles. Wikipedia was built upon these 5 pillars. So arguably the next 2 slides are the things we want you to keep in mind when actually editing and adding content. It helps develop your tone and make sure that the tone is aligned with Wikipedia's policies and procedures. So we already learned that Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. It is written from a neutral point of view. The content is free that anyone can use, edit, or distribute. And editors should treat each other with respect and civility, and Wikipedia has no firm rules. It's always fun to say that last one after starting to explain some of the rules. But what that really means is that it's a community of editors and that things can change. There are exceptions, there are votes that can be had, there are changes in policies. It's not a static encyclopedia, but because it's driven by the community as opposed to paid editors, things can change. And backing up one bullet point regarding treating other editors with respect and civility, Wikipedia, as I like to say, can be a social environment, but it is not a social media platform. Harassment is not tolerated. It is taken very seriously. So we ask that when speaking to others and same goes for when others are speaking to you, please monitor the tone, make sure that you are going into this with the right intentions and treating others with respect. When it's time to edit, it's important to keep your neutral tone. I always tell people, especially when I work with university students, we're not writing a research paper here, we're writing for an encyclopedia. So pretend if you were opened an encyclopedia, and I'll age myself here. Let's say you have an old world book on the shelf, as I did growing up. Pretend you're opening that book and you are writing that entry. You need your tone to reflect the tone of an encyclopedia. You're not trying to convince anybody of something's importance with what we call puffery or exaggerated language. You are stating the facts. So when writing, please do so. Word count does not matter in Wikipedia articles. While I ask that you aim for new articles to at least write 3 to 5 sentences, it is more important that you stick to the facts, even if it means that you have fewer words in your paragraph. I would rather that than have 500 words that's full of superlatives that don't need to be there. So please be as neutral as possible and stick to the facts. Notability. So this speaks to who needs to have, or who should have rather, a Wikipedia article. So the general rule of thumb is if you can find 3 high quality secondary sources that talk about one's importance, one's contributions, their role in a significant event, whatever it may be for that person. And I'm using the example of biographies because we are writing them today. When writing biographies, make sure that you can find 3 sources that talk about that person's significance, contributions, presence at an important event, whatever it may be. Now we have artists on our list today. We have seamstresses that worked on significant projects. We have women who were activists in the fight against polio. So we need to find, let's say, if we were writing about these women, 3 high quality sources that explain why their work was important. And luckily, we do have those sources right on the event page for you to use. Verifiability speaks to the types of sources that are acceptable in Wikipedia. So anytime that you add content in Wikipedia, you must cite your source. And the sources you are citing must be reliable. So we're talking about high quality secondary sources. You're not using primary sources like original letters, receipts, scrapbooks. We're talking about things that other people or other sources have published. So newspaper articles, museum publications, Smithsonian blogs, for example, things like that. No original research, again, is about sourcing. So you were pointing again to secondary materials. You're not going out and finding this and creating this scholarship for the first time. People should have published on this topic already, and you are citing their work. You are not going out and creating that work from scratch. Assume good faith, again, goes back to congenial spirit. Make sure that you maintain that spirit throughout. And lastly is conflicts of interest. You do not want to edit an article about yourself, someone you're closely related to, or someone with, or something with which or whom you have a financial relationship, for example, your employer. This is a more fleshed out slide about sources, and I won't spend too much time on this because we already discussed it, but please note that when citing sources, they should be secondary sources, so published materials, things that other sources have already published. And please do not cite social media. I don't think this will be a problem with our work list today because many of the women are, not alive at this point, but also probably don't have social media accounts. It is possible that a few may, but please don't cite them if you find them. But if you do edit in the future and you think that someone does have a LinkedIn profile, the person that you're writing about, for example, please don't cite that. The reason for that is we are not looking for self-published sources. You should not be citing self-published sources. So LinkedIn, an artist's website, for example, that's not what we want you to cite. We want you to cite things that other people have written about them. Quick note about plagiarism. I recently added this because I've found at events it's happening more than I expected it to. So not saying that it would have happened now, but I always like to stop here and have a quick chat about it. So when you find a source and you've found a fact that you want to add to an article, please, of course, rewrite it in your own words and cite your sources properly. Please don't just take the entire sentence or paragraph in its current form, paste it into the article. And even if you were citing the original source, it must be rewritten in your own words. I will take this moment to also say, please don't overly use quotations. So it's okay to, let's say somebody was called the most prolific seamstress at ILC Dover. If you can find a direct quote that says that, if it's just a few words like that, the quotes are okay and you need to say where it came from. But if it's a 5-sentence quote and it doesn't necessarily build the article or isn't necessarily crucial to be in the article, don't necessarily do that. Instead, what we want you to do is rewrite, in our case, the biography. So rewrite the sources that you're finding, the information you're finding in the sources in your own words, and then cite the source where you found that information. Please do not copy and paste from an external source into Wikipedia. word for word. We already talked about conflicts of interest. It shouldn't really be an issue today, but just keep this in mind in the future. So for example, those who are on the call that work for the museum or the Smithsonian in general, they would not edit the article about the Smithsonian. Next is wiki puffery. Let's make sure, as I mentioned before briefly, we are sticking to the facts. We are not trying to convince people with the overuse of adjectives or superlatives. We want to say what these women did and talk about why that was important. We're not going to say that people were super influential or, oh, well, if they are award winning, you should say what awards that they won. I don't necessarily agree with that part, but if you need to use these words too much, try to say it in another way by showing that they are notable by talking about their achievements. So you're trying to convince or share that someone is notable by using their achievements or their contributions rather than superlatives or adjectives. Again, write as if you are writing an encyclopedia. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the deletion process for articles. Now, new Wikipedia articles are, if not done properly, can be deleted. So I do want to prepare you for that. Before going over what each of these things means, when you work in an article, I always highly recommend highlighting what you've done, copying it, and pasting it either in a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word doc or wherever it needs to be for you to have access to it. That way, if it is deleted and it shouldn't have been, or you would like to keep working on it to get it to a point where it would be less likely to be deleted within Wikipedia, you will always have your text. Once an article is deleted in Wikipedia, it's in many cases impossible to recover. I don't want to say this to scare you. It's one of the reasons why we go over policy and what you should and shouldn't do to get you to the point where this will be less likely to happen. It's also the reason why we have you create articles as drafts. So we are able to review them to say, you know, hey, I think this is a good time to move it into main space. I don't believe it will be deleted. So when somebody creates an article, and let's say the topic or the subject is not notable enough to have a Wikipedia article, an article can be nominated to the AFD process, which is articles for deletion. So what typically happens is it will go to a template will be added to the top of the page. And then there will be a community discussion that's generated, a discussion page, and editors will vote keep or delete. There will also be a conversation. So it won't just be a one-click vote. You can say, I believe this should be kept because XYZ, or I think this should be deleted because this person isn't notable. And then after about 7 days, a Wikipedia admin or administrator will come through and mark it kept or deleted. Speedy deletion is where, let's say something is so out, should not even be considered for notability. So let's just say, you know, I created an article about myself and I'm not notable. And it was clear that I made it about myself. There are no citations. I've not proved notability. And an admin can come along and just delete it right away because it's very clear that there should not be a community discussion. Proposed deletion, which is probably the least used deletion process, is an intermediate process where you know that it may meet the criteria for speedy deletion and conversation may not be necessary, but you want to give it a little bit more time for people to consider. So as I said, I don't want this to scare you, but there is a process for deletion of articles, and our best defense here is a good offense. Let's make sure that our articles really talk about the contributions of these women, really establish the notability, why what they did and what they're doing is important, and we need to cite our sources. If we do that and write in an encyclopedic tone and really make our case, it is less likely than any of these types of deletion will happen. And lastly, Wikipedia articles are assessed for quality. So when you open a Wikipedia article, sometimes at the top, you will see an article rating. And it's not an A, B, C, D, simple article rating, though it does incorporate some of that regular grading system. So Wikipedia articles are graded for quality using this system here. So on the left-hand side, you'll see FA. FA is for featured article. That means an article was high quality enough to potentially be featured on Wikipedia's homepage. If you take your eye all the way to the right side of that row, so to the total column, but on the FA row, only about, at the time of this screenshot that I took, about 7,900 articles reached that threshold. And remember, we're talking about over 7 million articles in English language Wikipedia. So it is highly rare that articles are rated FA. If you take your eye all the way down to the start and stub rows, however, you'll see that the majority of articles in English language Wikipedia are rated start and stub. Start and stub articles are short articles. Now, these are articles that are, the topics or subjects are notable enough to be in Wikipedia, but the articles are short. Stub and start articles are not bad things because they are how articles grow. Sometimes a stub is a stub because we only know a little bit and the sources are there and that's all we have. Sometimes stubs are short because they just haven't been built up by anyone other than the original editor, or people have not added to them even when there's a lot more to be added. It can be a lot of different things, but I do encourage you, if creating a new article today, to just aim to create a stub. Now, as I said before, aim to write at least 3 to 5 sentences about who, for example, one of these seamstresses was, and what they did and why they were important. Add hyperlinks, cite your sources, and create a references section, as I'll show you how to do in a few moments, and get that published. If you can establish notability within 5 sentences and it's done correctly, that article can be moved into main space Wikipedia. And what that will do, it will allow other editors to work on it, to grow it. And it's important to remember in all of this that Wikipedia is a community effort. So while one editor might create a stub, it is up to the other editors within the Wikimedia community to improve that article. It's all part of a community effort. So gender gap. We have a gender gap in Wikipedia, and it is in who edits Wikipedia as well as the content within Wikipedia. So Wikipedia editors are typically white, male, technically inclined from Christian countries with white-collar jobs. Now, I will say these metrics were part of a survey that was done that probably should be redone because it was done, I believe, about 10 years ago, and we're due for another. But this is the most recent statistic we have on this. Ultimately, what happens there is it's reflected in the content in Wikipedia. So while we have 1 out of 10 Wikipedia editors identifies as female, which more recent estimates are about 12 to 15, though, as I said, we need a more official study. Only about 19.78% of English language articles in Wikipedia are about women. Now you'll see we have moved the needle quite a bit. It may not look like it. We're approaching 5% since this number was tracked at the start. But as I always say at events, I would not be discouraged by the nearly 5% increase in articles about women, because it's not like people stopped creating articles about men or other genders. So we have this 5% increase, or nearly 5% increase, and we are making progress while other articles are still also being created. So please keep that in mind. So any article that you create, you are helping to grow this number. So some contributing factors here. So why do people not want to edit Wikipedia? Why potentially would women not want to edit Wikipedia? There's been some studies. So aversion to conflict is one of them. That there have been some surveys out there, official and unofficial. So people just don't want to get into it with other people on the internet. I mean, I think that's something we can all relate to. Also, fear of deletion and reversion is one thing. Sometimes we spend a lot of time working on a Wikipedia article and we're happy with it, and it's reverted or deleted, and we don't feel like spending the time to do it again, because why should I work on something that somebody's just going to delete? This is one of the reasons why I always have people save the text that they've written in a Word doc or Google Doc, because sometimes the people deleting the articles are wrong. So if you have an article that's deleted and you would like to recreate it, you can go ahead and do that, and you can you can put it on what's called Wiki Project alerts. There's all sorts of ways to combat this. So please know that people like me and other Wikimedians are out here working on the gender gap. And if you feel like your article was deleted and it should not have been, there are ways to get people to look at it to see if they agree with you. Next is contributing things that contribute to the gender gap, specifically related to content that is articles in Wikipedia. So we have systemic bias, of course, and a lack of reliable secondary sources. And I always say, if people are not writing about women and publishing secondary sources, we cannot cite anything in Wikipedia. And to put that more in perspective, as a tertiary source, Wikipedia is a mirror of available secondary sources. So we may know that a woman is important enough, or notable enough rather, to have a Wikipedia article. But if somebody hasn't published about her accomplishments or contributions in a secondary source, we have nothing to cite. And if we try to create articles without citing sources or without including any sort of references where we found that information, the article will be deleted. So this is my pitch. If you are in a position to publish about women, especially lesser known women, please do so. Now, this isn't just, a fan blog you may write yourself, but if you work for an organization or institution, a news publication, a museum, a government agency, and you have the opportunity to write a blog, for example, about a woman that is lesser known, but you know that she is notable enough to have a Wikipedia article, please publish that. By doing that, you are helping ultimately to close Wikipedia's gender gap, because you are giving us a source to use and a source to cite when creating a Wikipedia article. And that is my pitch on that. I like to say it, especially at the Smithsonian associated events, because we know that we have a lot of people in the room that could potentially write those blogs or write those posts. It's also a great intern activity if you have interns coming in this coming summer and you would like them to publish official blog posts or other things about a woman, for example. It's a great thing, a great project to work on. And feel free to ping me once it's done, and I'll be happy to include that source in an upcoming event. So now we've talked about background, we've talked about the tone we want you to keep. Now we're going to start to learn about what it's like to edit. Believe it or not, the housekeeping and the background and getting ready to learn how to edit is the majority of this training. We're trying to get ourselves in the right headspace to think about how to write. The actual doing, hopefully, will seem a little more familiar to you, because many of the tools we will use are modeled on other tools and things and platforms that we always use, already use rather, in a daily basis sometimes. And you'll see what I mean momentarily. When you create a Wikipedia article and you click on, Wikipedia username, and you log in, at the top of the page, your name will become a hyperlink. If you click on that hyperlink, you will be presented with a blank page where you can share information about yourself. This is called a user page. You do not have to use it if you don't choose to, but just know that it's available to you, and you never have to share information about yourself. This is something for newbies at events like this. I wouldn't concern yourself with too much, but just know that it's an option. So if you ever want to share information about yourself, you would log into Wikipedia, click the blue hyperlink button or red hyperlink button if you're new, and you can type in information about yourself and save it. You also are given, when creating a username, you're given a talk page. Now, this is where people will leave you messages. So those of you who are new, you may get a message that says, welcome to the Tea House, welcome from the Tea House, which is a group of helpful people who help new editors. If you ever get a notice that says you've received a message, it's typically on your talk page. So to get to your talk page, you can click on the top page, which is a tab on the top of the page. Now we're going to set some preferences. Now, this is something that is going to require some doing on your part at this time. Now, if you choose to do this, which I highly recommend, go ahead and do so. If you are more of a listener or watcher and want to do this when it's actually time to start editing, that's fine too. I can walk you through this again. So you have the option of doing this now or doing this later, but I will go over it. There are two types of editors in Wikipedia. One is visual editor and one is source editor. Visual editor is a what you see is what you get editing system. It's clicking on an article, it opens up the way it looked just like it did a moment ago. You click around in it, you have a flashing cursor that you can use. It's just like writing in a word processor or a Google document. That's what we're learning how to do today. There's also source editor, which is a code editing. So if you know code, you're welcome to try that too, but we will be learning how to edit Wikipedia with visual editor today. So one of the fun things about being a new editor is that it's sometimes hard to find things. So I like to have my editors or my trainees set a preference that will allow you to find visual editor easier than you would have if you did not do this. So again, you're welcome to do this with me. Now, I can review it when we actually start the edit-a-thon portion in a 15 minutes or so. But if you want to do it now, this is what you will do. You will go to the event page or any Wikipedia article. Make sure that you are logged in to Wikipedia. On the top right of the screen, you'll see a person icon. You'll click on that, which will open the drop-down menu, and you'll select Preferences. On the next page, you'll select Editing, which is usually the third from the left. And if you scroll down on that page, you'll see a drop-down menu called Editing Mode. What I want you to do is open that up and select Show Me Both Editor tabs. I'm going to run through this twice, okay? So once you open that up and select Show Me Both Editor tabs, go ahead and scroll down and click Save. So what you're telling Wikipedia is that when I edit an article, I want to be able to easily find visual editor and source editor. If you did not do this, sometimes it's harder to find visual. And I think that is a setback, in my opinion, for new editors. So I'll run through this once more. So when you have a Wikipedia article open or the event page and you're logged in, on the top right, you're going to click on the person icon and open it up. You're going to select Preferences, Editing, and then you're going to scroll down and select Editing Mode, drop-down menu. Within that menu, select Show Me Both Editor tabs, and then scroll down and save. Again, you can do this when it's actually time to start editing, but if you chose to do it now, hopefully you followed those 3 steps. Now we're going to start talking about what articles look like. So I have my sample article here. This is an article I use. It's a medium-sized article about an artist named Elizabeth Catlett. She actually has ties here to DC, and she is an artist whose work is in a lot of notable collections and is well known. So I have an article here. This will be my sample article. When you have a Wikipedia article open on your page, on your browser, you can always click on the Talk tab. So this will be any behind the scenes conversations that people have had about the article. Please note, when creating or editing an article, you do not have to go to the Talk page to ask permission to edit the article. Just know that this page is here for you to have or start conversations about this person. So for example, let's say I was editing this article and I found one secondary source that had her birth date as 1 year, but I found another one that had a different year. You may see conversations like that on the Talk page. So people will say to other editors, hi, I found this source about her birth date, but I found this other one. Does anyone know which one is right? What should I do? How should I word this? That's the type of thing you may see on a Talk page. A Wikipedia article has a history log. So anytime in an existing article, anytime anyone's edited an article and hit publish, that is logged in our history log. So if you ever want to see what that looks like, you can go to a Wikipedia article and click on View History, and you'll get a list of changes. So if I were to go to this and click on the date next to each of these, it will show me what the article looked like at any given time. Now, Wikipedia articles, we all know from reading them, start with what's called a lead paragraph. And this is what I would love you all, especially new editors, to strive to create today. Now, I don't think we're going to get to creating every single necessary section in a Wikipedia article for each person on our list today if creating new articles. But I do want to ask that you strive to create at least 3 to 5 sentences that are the start of a lead paragraph. So what is a lead paragraph? A lead paragraph is the first paragraph that you see in a Wikipedia article, and it's the place where you make the case for notability. So you start with the person's name and you put it in bold. If you know their DOB or date of death, if that applies, you can put it there. If you do not have it, you can leave that blank. But you are making matter-of-fact statements about this person's notability. So in our case, Elizabeth Catlett was an African-American sculptor and graphic artist, best known for her depictions of Black American experience in the 20th century. That is a matter-of-fact statement. In the lead paragraph, you are convincing readers why she is notable with facts. Okay, so that's how I want you to think about this. How can I write this so that people understand why this person is notable? Now, that sometimes that can be a description of what they've done. For an artist, it could be what collections they were in, what well-known collections they're in. It could be how they contributed to a big project. So with our seamstresses, it could say, you know, this person was a seamstress for ILC Dover and was and worked to create the spacesuits for Apollo missions and really talk about that. That's something you would see in the lead paragraph. Now, below the lead paragraph is where we will start to see sections about one's life. So we've all read Wikipedia articles, so this should feel familiar. So once we have the lead paragraph, below that, we have a chronological story of one's life. So we usually start with early life and education. Of course, this lives below the lead paragraph. So early life and education, career, and legacy. Now, not all headers are the same. Not all section headers are the same. But what I always recommend doing is find an article that is well known and look at what sections they have. What were those sections called? You can also go to the manual of style for guidance on what those sections should be called, but it's always one of those things where just look at what other people have done and model yours on that. So keep in mind, again, you are telling the chronological story of one's life. So you start with the lead paragraph, that's make your case for notability, and everything below that is a chronological story of one's life. Wikipedia uses inline citations. So we have somebody added a fact, they cited their source, they have a citation number and a corresponding reference at the bottom. Wikipedia uses hyperlinks, as we already know. These links take us from Wikipedia to Wikipedia. And below the references section, we typically have not typically, but sometimes have a further reading section and external links section, which is the only place typically where you should put links to external websites. And then categories, which are like social media tags. Especially for new users rather, don't worry about creating these sections. What we are really concerned with more so today is creating new articles that consist of lead paragraphs and a references section for your citations to push a 2.2. So now the good part, editing articles. And I know we're a few minutes behind, but believe it or not, this only takes a few minutes. So I'm going to show you a Wikipedia article here. If you cannot see that for any reason, let me know. It should be visible. So I have Miss Catlett's article here. I am logged in. It's possible to log in to edit Wikipedia without being logged in. It will log your IP address publicly. So please make sure that you're logged in before you start editing. Now, let's say I found something in a book and I want to add it and it's not already in this article, or let's say I had a typo. To edit this article, all I need to do is click edit. And you'll see the article reloaded and looks very similar. Now I can go in here and just start typing. So let's say I added some text here and I need to cite my source. Remember, because you have to have a source for everything we're adding to Wikipedia. I'm going to go up here to this icon that I now have, and I'm going to click the quotation icon, which is our citation icon. I'm going to click on it. If it's a URL or I have an ISBN for a book, all I need to do is paste that in there and click create. Let's say it's, I don't know, this. I'm going to click create. It's going to generate my citation number, and it's going to automatically put this new citation. I'm not going to scroll down because I don't want to make you dizzy all the way in the references section. So I don't have to worry about moving numbers. I don't have to worry about reformatting everything at the bottom in the references section. It's going to happen automatically. So I'll show you that once more using another feature. So let's say I put my cursor at the end of the sentence that I've added. I need to cite my source. I'm going to go up and click the quote icon, and I'm going to, let's say I want to make it have a little more flexibility here with what I can add. I'm going to click manual. Let's say I was citing a book. I could click book, and you're just going to fill out the fields. Okay, it will walk you through the process. Once you're done entering everything in the fields, you click generate and your citation will go in. If you ever want to copy something, let's say you've cited something once and you don't want to cite it, you don't want to go through the process of filling out the fields again, it's a literal selection and you're going to copy it. Now I can paste this exact citation just with a quick paste right here. So you can move the numbers around by selecting them and pasting them where they need to go. The next thing I'll show you how to do is the hyperlink. So hyperlinking is the exact same as hyperlinking in an email. So let's say you want to link from the article, this article to the article about Washington, DC. I'm going to highlight Washington, DC. I'm going to click on the link icon and Wikipedia will pull up everything named Wikimedia DC, Washington, DC. I'm going to click on it and your hyperlink is created. Okay. A hyperlink only needs to be created the first time a term or place appears. So if Washington, DC appears 10 times in an article, you only have to link to it once. Next, I'm going to show you how to add a section. So remember we said we're going to strive for new articles to create just the lead paragraph, but let's say you get to the point where you want to start building out the story of their life chronologically. You'll go below the lead paragraph and you'll type out the name of the section. Now, early life and education is usually clumped together. So I was surprised to see just early life here, but let's say you're writing from scratch. So you know a bit about someone's early life and education, you have a source to support this information. You're just going to write what you want the section to be called, and you're going to change the font size. Now, once you hit enter or return, it will default back to the regular font size. So again, to make a section header, you're going to name it, highlight it, and change the font. So that's how we build out these sections. Then you would just type out what you have from your sources that you found and cite your sources. Now, one of the last things I'll show you how to do is insert a photo. So let's say I wanted to insert a photo. Now, I will say all photos in Wikipedia articles must be in Wikimedia Commons first. So please note that if you cannot find a photo to put into an article, that is okay. Please don't go and just pull it from a website and put it into the article. It must be in Wikimedia Commons first. So the question is, how do we know that a photo is in Wikimedia Commons? One of the great things about Wikipedia and Wikimedia Commons is they're all part of the same suite of projects. So they're going to communicate with each other rather easily. And this is how we would do it. Let's say I wanted to see if there's a photo related to her education, or let's say I wanted to see if there's a photo related to her work. I'm going to place my cursor in the general area where I want the photo to go. I'm going to go over here to the plus sign, and I'm going to say add, just by hitting it, images and media, and I'm going to type in her name. Anything in Wikimedia Commons that's been named or tagged as her will come up. Let's say I found something that I wanted to use. I would just click on it and select use this image. Now you would caption it if you choose to do so. Not all images are captioned, but alternative text is if somebody is visually impaired, it's what their screen reader will read to them about the physical description of the image. So please use that and then click insert. And now your photo appears. Okay, so again, a quick run through. If you have an existing article in front of you, to start editing it, open it on your screen, click the edit button. You can paste or write text wherever is appropriate. You'll use this cite button up here to open the citation pop-up and format your citations. To hyperlink, highlight the text. Click the link icon, select what you want to link to. And to add a photo, place your cursor where you want it to go. Click on the plus sign and go to Images and Media to pull up Wikimedia Commons. Now, again, if you do not find an image to go into an article, please don't let that deter you. Just keep working on something else. It's quite possible that an image does not exist in Wikimedia Commons. So I'm going to go and show you, I'm going to leave this page now. I'm going to open up the event page and show you what it would be like to create a new draft article before I hand it over to you to actually start working. So let's say you wanted to start putting this work, what you've just learned, into action, and you are ready to go. So you'll see on the event page, we have a lot of really great sources. So I highly recommend the first thing, finding an article you want to edit and using the Google Sheet to reserve it. Then go down to the section below the name of the article you want to create. Read the sources that have been provided. Maybe keep a little sheet next to you. Write some important points, some important dates where you found that information. Get ready, get yourself inspired to start writing. Once you are actually ready to start writing, you're going to click on the red link. This is for new articles. You're going to click on the red link and it's going to open up a blank page. The first thing, this is a pro tip from years of doing this, add a nice references header at the bottom. Remember, we add a header, we just type it and then change the font. And just let that live down there alone for a while. Come back up to the top and start writing your lead paragraph. Who is this group of women? What did they do? Where did they work? Why is it important? And cite your sources as you go. Now, when you are ready to actually publish the page as a draft, you'll go ahead and click the blue Publish button. And you'll get a box called Edit Summary. Just say Started Draft, type Started Draft in there and publish. Now you can keep coming back to this page to keep working on it. Please note that if you close by accident or there's some sort of issue, you may lose what you're working on. So please publish often, publish every 15 minutes or so you don't lose. You can always open it up and click the edit button and keep working. So the goal here is we want to try to create some drafts, even if they're short, about some of the articles on our list that are red links. Now, if you wanted to edit an article that already exists, you'll know that it exists because the link will be blue. So I can click on this link and it will open it up. Now you'll see here there's a warning that someone added saying there's an issue with this article. If anyone wants to improve this article by addressing this issue, you can do that. So you can go and click edit and maybe change it to talk more about her own personal notability, something like that. So that's really up to you. So again, to start a new article, you would click on the red link. And to work on an existing article, you click on the ones that are blue. But again, I encourage you to look at the sources that are available, start to think about what a lead paragraph would look like, who this person is, come up with a notability statement. Why are they important? Why was their work important? And cite your sources as you go. Make sure that you have a references section at the bottom before you start and cite your sources as you go. Also, be sure to publish often and save your work that way. So that we can continue to work throughout the day, but also saving your work will allow me to view it and see if it's ready to be moved to main space before the end of the day. Now with that, I'm going to open up the event page myself again. And I'm going to view the Q&A to see if there's anything that should be addressed now. I'll be happy to go over some things. There's a question about what happens. Okay, so there's a question about what happens if an article is deleted and if it's harassment used by a bot or the subject was targeted, for example. What happens with this is, and this is why I recommend highly saving it in a Google Doc somewhere that's external to Wikipedia so we can recover it. There are a few what are called wiki projects, which are people who work together in a certain area. There is a wiki project that works on things about women. So that is something where we would go to those individuals, we will put it on a list of articles that have experienced issues, and we will allow the community to start to, they can approach the editor who deleted it, they could ask for justification, which should have been provided initially, and they could sort of fight back against that. And if it gets to the point where an admin needs to be involved, the admin can ultimately help to restore the article. There was a question about wanting to see an example of a stub. Sure, I can show you an example of a stub. Let me go here. For those of you while I'm answering questions that would like to start working, feel free to do that. These are articles that I've written and I'm trying to determine which one would be a stub. This one be a stub? No. This is not, I was hoping to find a women's article for an example, but we're gonna pick another one. Okay. So this is actually a start one. It was a stub a few days ago, but this would be a start article, which is a little bit above a stub. If this was a stub article, it could potentially be just these two sections here or just this section alone. So that's a stub article. Stub and start, there's a fine line between them. It usually means that there's a few more sections in an article to make it a start, but a stub article would look something like this. Let me see if I can find you another one. Mine are typically longer than the regular stub. Let's see. Oh, I think I have a good one. Sorry for making you dizzy back and forth. Oh, this is, it's funny, I keep trying to find stubs, but people have built on my articles, so they're actually longer than they used to be. But just a stub is about 3 to 5 sentences in a lead paragraph with few or no additional sections. So let me check the Q&A here, see if there's, the question is, what happens if the Wiki community believes it is not big enough, the subject of the article does not have enough press to verify it on Wiki? Well, that is up to the editor to find those sources to support the notability. So if you are creating an article, if you have cited secondary sources that are high quality and the community still doesn't think those are good, it would be the same process of putting it to the community to have a discussion about if those sources are there. If there is no press coverage or you can't find anything about it, unfortunately, the article should not be created. But if it does look like targeting, like the sources are there, but people keep deleting them or deleting the article rather, then that is something that can be reported. But if the press is not there, the article unfortunately cannot be created. There's a question about hyperlinks. So how many hyperlinks should an article have? How do you know what to hyperlink? There is no limit or minimum requirement for hyperlinks within an article, though we do want you to create them. If you should hyperlink things that are somewhat related, so it should be geographical areas, concepts. So for example, if somebody's an artist and they work in a particular medium, you should hyperlink that. You shouldn't hyperlink every single thing. It should be, the big things. So places that they've lived, schools that they've went to, the types of medium they work in. If their work is in a particular collection, hyperlinking from the artist page to the museum or gallery page that they're in, that would be something to do, but it shouldn't be every tiny little thing. There was a question, and this is something that I may put to the museum staff to answer potentially in the chat. There are some questions about making suggestions for other women to make pages for. So, of course, you're always welcome in your own time to edit things that are related to closing the gender gap. In my opinion, I think we should try to stay for today on task for working on these articles, but I'm sure that anything that you suggest for future events would definitely be considered. We love expanding the lists of women whose articles should be created because That's actually a lot of the legwork that goes into this. So if you have anyone to suggest, I'd be happy to look at that. Okay, there was a question about to confirm publishing a draft article equals saving. Yes. So when you hit publish, you are saving that draft article. You can come back and keep working on it. Now, there is a process for what's called moving the article from draft form to Wikipedia main space. I will do a demo of that. I can do it now, or I can give people some time to work. But what happens is what we do is we take a draft article and we rename it. That's basically what a move is. It's renaming the article from draft and removing the draft part of the name, and it makes it live in regular Wikipedia. I will do a demo of that. Okay, there is a question about images. So if the photo is not in Wikimedia, can I use photos I have? If you have a photo that you took yourself that you own the copyright to, you can go into Wikimedia Commons, which looks like this. Click on the blue upload button, and you can upload images that you have on your device directly to Wikimedia Commons. Now, the big thing is it's going to ask you if you own this image. If it's an image that a picture that you took yourself, you're going to say yes, and then you're going to release the rights to that image. If it's an image that you found on a website, you need to make sure that the copyright is expired, or there's a note that says that the copyright has been released and or has no copyright. You need to tell Wikimedia that. So it's going to ask you, what if this isn't your work, why are you allowed to upload it? And you'll address those questions. Once that's done, you can continue through the upload process. It's pretty simple to use, and then the photo will be in Commons. Once that photo's in Commons, then you should be able to add it to a Wikipedia article. There's a question that says, there's a misunderstanding about doing a red link draft on the Google Sheet, that you want to work on the blue links. I'm sorry, the question seemed to disappear before I answered, but the Google Sheet is for reserving any type of article, blue link article, red link article, any article that does exist or doesn't exist. So you can reserve that there. And then on the actual event page, you'll go back to the event page and click on the red link. Okay, let me go ahead and check the page. Let me stop my share. Just to check something. It seems to be a bit of a troubleshooting issue. Let me see. Apologize. For those of you who are here, you can all start working on the articles. Just make sure this is the right. Yep, so the names on the Google Sheet, I just looked, the names on the Google Sheet, you may see some that are on the sheet that are not necessarily on the event page, but all of the things on the event page are on this sheet. There are a few names that may not have wound up on the event page because I didn't think that they were notable enough yet to have a Wikipedia article, but you should, if you scroll down, you should be able to find at least everybody who's on the event page should be listed on the Google Sheet. So that is in fact there. So question about due date. No, there's really no due date here. The goal of the edit-a-thon is to get some of these articles started. So do your best to type, at least for the new ones, 3 to 5 sentences, add a references section and start writing. They can obviously be worked on after the event. We'd love to see some of these, at least the drafts created. So there really is no hard due date, but do your best to try to get as much as you can done by 2 o'clock. There's a question about what about an image of an artwork? How does that work in terms of copyright? So image of an artwork is the copyright for the image, I'm sorry, the copyright for the art should be expired, so it should be pre-1928. The art itself should be pre-1928, and the photo of the art should be that pre-19. I'm sorry, and the photo, if you took the photo, you need to release the rights for the photo, but also the work itself, the artwork itself should have an expired copyright. Of course, the exception is if it was a work that was created for by the federal government, even after 1928, that automatically makes it in the public domain, so that wouldn't apply there, but that's getting a bit into the weeds. So this portion of the event from now until 2 o'clock is really a silent working time. I'm going to share a link to a fun work list I have of women who don't have Wikipedia articles. I'm sorry, did I say work list? I meant playlist, if I didn't say playlist. So it's a fun playlist. Feel free to listen to it on your own time. It's just a fun thing to listen to while we're working on articles about these women. I will turn off my camera, but I will continue to be here. The goal is to get some of these articles created. I will show briefly how to move an article in a few minutes, move an article from draft form to regular Wikipedia. If over the course of this event you've created a draft and you want me to take a look at it, please ping me in the chat. I will be happy to do so. And then if it is ready to be moved to regular Wikipedia, or what we call Wikipedia main space, I can help you do that. Now I will actually go ahead briefly, and because I typically don't like to talk through through the work portion, but I do want to show you one more thing. Then I will stop talking, I promise. So let's say I have a draft article open. I'm going to maybe open up an event that we've done with another organization recently where a draft was created. So obviously this is not a complete draft. This is something I started on as an example, but let's say I had a draft article and it was ready. Let's just pretend this one is ready. I have a blue move button over here. Now, most of you, because you're new, will not see this button, but it's something that I will, over the course of the next hour, activate for all of you. So if you wanted to move this to regular main space, I'm going to go to the blue move button, click on it. I'm going to change the title from draft to article, and I'm going to click the blue move button. And that will take a draft article from draft form to main space Wikipedia. So it's just a few clicks. So again, if you do a draft article and you want me to take a look at it, if you think that it's ready, I can definitely take a look at it. I can make editing suggestions. I can help you work on the format. And then if it's ready before the end of the day, I can help you move that. There are instructions in the slide deck, which I will download from Google and put into the Wiki event page, and you can access it even after the event. It does talk about this process within that training and shows you what to do when it is time to move something to from draft to main space. So if you don't get to it today, it'll teach you how to do it later on. The question just for once more to show how to start. So the event page is here. I'll put it in the chat once more. You'll go to this page. You'll find the name of someone whose article you want to create or edit. On the event page, you will open up. Sorry, I thought I was sharing. You'll go to the event page, which is linked in the chat. You'll go to this, you'll look at who's shared here under articles, find someone whose article you want to edit or create. You'll reserve it in the Google Sheet, put your name next to it, as those many have done already here. Come back to the event page and start looking at these sources, find information about them, start figuring out what you want to include in your article. Once you have an idea, you click on the link and it will either open a blank page for you to start the article, or if it's an existing article, it will open up the article. You'll then click the edit button and start working. So the ultimate goal is to go to the event page, find the article you want to work on, use the sources there to build content within your article, and cite your sources as you go. Be sure as you go to hit publish, whether you're building new articles or working on existing ones. I'm going to stop my video now and mute. I don't want to interrupt too much, but if there are questions in the Q&A that come up, I will probably start addressing them unless they're too big to address via text. I will start addressing them in the Q&A directly. Hello, everyone. We are getting ready to wrap up. I'm going to share my screen to show the event page to show how many articles have turned from red to blue. So as you remember, we have our page here. Anything that says draft that's now blue means that an article was created. So we can take a look at some of these. There's an article here, so that's great. What I'm going to do is go through some of these. I may make some copy edits, formatting issues, things like that, address them. I may add some content myself, typically what I do at the end of events. And then if I believe they can be moved, I'll go ahead and move them. Sometimes this happens during the event, but I don't think we got to that point today. I do know that at least one article was moved, so that's great. So we have a stub that was created here for Jean Wilson. Thank you to the person, to the user who created that article. So we'll see what happens here. Hopefully it sticks. If it does not stick, we'll keep working to make sure this content is represented. Another thing that I do want to show you, we have a page called a dashboard. Now, when I had all of you sign in or check in to the event page, I took your usernames and added them to the list of editors who participated today. There's a project or tool rather within Wikipedia that allows us to see what was done during by a certain group of people in a certain period of time. And that's what I've set up here. So I have the list of editors, and then we set the time that we were editing. Now, for some reason, it's not pulling the metrics right now. That is not abnormal for the dashboard. Sometimes it can take a few hours, but I'm going to link this dashboard to the event page. So you can come back to it and see a big, nice list of all the articles edited, all the edits that were done, the editors who participated, their references added. It's a really, really great tool and allows us to track the thon part of this edit-a-thon. So with that, I'm going to hand it over. I'm going to stop my share here. And I'll hand it over to Nikki to wrap us up.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all again so much for joining us for the Becoming Visible Edit-a-thon. You can stay current on the museum's news and learn more about other ways to get involved by following the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum on social media. Our Instagram handle is @SmithsonianWomen, and of course by signing up for our newsletter. Over the coming months, coming years, there will be tons of opportunities to volunteer with us, co-create with us, and of course you can support our work by becoming a donor or charter member. Please visit womenshistory.si.edu to learn more about what's going on. Thank you again for helping to make women's stories more visible. We plan to host a few of these each year, and we hope that you'll join us again. So long, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.